That is why I'm especially happy to be here today to talk about how our office is working to prevent terrible tragedies from happening using extreme risk protection orders, which are often called ERPOs. Earlier this year, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory calling firearm violence a public health crisis. Gun-related deaths reached a nearly 3-decade high in 2021. Guns are now the leading cause of death for children and adolescents. Think about that for a moment. The leading cause of death, more than car accidents, cancer, any other cause. The leading cause of death for children is gun violence. More than half of gun deaths in this country, almost 60%, result from suicide. And of course, firearms are also utilized in most of the lethal cases that occur in our country, including mass shootings. The proliferation of guns in our community is absolutely staggering, and we are committed to using every available resource to address this crisis. This is why our office has taken the lead in utilizing extreme risk protection orders, or ERPOs. You may know these as red flag laws. An ERPO is an order that temporarily prohibits someone in danger of causing harm to themselves or to others from possessing or purchasing guns. Until 2023, there was no legal authority in Minnesota to issue an ERPO. The legislature wisely changed that. Now, both families and law enforcement can petition the court for ERPOs. Hennepin County has already taken the lead and has issued to date 26 ERPOs, which is about 25% of all ERPOs statewide. Our office has spent the last year building out a program that ensures people know about ERPOs and have the ability to petition for them to protect loved ones from harm. We are taking a two-pronged approach to utilizing ERPOs, employing our resources where they can most help families and also working to build up the community's ability to help those needing solutions. First, we hired an attorney to provide technical assistance and training to all community partners on ERPOs. Raina Alexander, behind me here, came to us with 27 years of experience working with intimate partner and sexual violence survivors and extensive experience to providing technical assistance and training to a wide array of community partners. The trainings are about what ERPOs are and how to get one. For our law enforcement partners, we are also training on what is required by the statute for service and transfer of firearms and tips on safety for that process. Second, we recognize that not everyone wants to rely on law enforcement or a prosecutor for help. Many community members disproportionately affected by suicide are distrustful of law enforcement, especially right now. They include trans communities, communities of color, and autism communities. They may worry about calling the police during a mental health crisis. Non-citizens, likewise, might be extremely distrustful of reaching out to anyone who could become a mandatory reporter to ICE. To ensure that all families and community members have access to the ERPO process, we will be training domestic violence advocates, our partners in Hennepin County Behavioral Health, and any other community partners who want to support people in navigating this process. In the coming months, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office will also be rolling out a new web page on ERPOs. I want to talk about one of the ERPOs that was filed this year in Hennepin County. I mentioned that almost 60% of suicides are carried out with a firearm. And as the U.S. Surgeon General's advisory points out, acts of violence and suicide attempts often involve a rapid transition from thought to action. And access to a firearm during a time of acute stress can lead to deadly outcomes. So interrupting that time between the thought and action can save people's lives. Family members in Hennepin County sought an ERPO after a loved one said she was going to buy a gun to end her life. After the ERPO was filed, the woman went to a store to buy a gun, but she was denied because the ERPO was in the database, the ERPO or the red flag, was already in the database, and the store checked, saw it there, and did not allow her to purchase a gun. This family's action in getting the ERPO bought their loved one time, which hopefully saved her life. This is one reason why this tool is so important. We need, however, to get the word out there that this tool is available. Our approach to ERPOs helps the community while meeting people where they are, and we will be actively seeking out financial resources to help it grow. We also want to empower people to provide their families and get the help they need. We want to help save lives. This program will help us achieve both goals, and I'm extremely proud of it. I'm now going to ask Raina Alexander, our attorney who's in charge of ERPOs, to make a few comments.
Thank you, and thank you for being here today. Extreme risk protection orders, as has been stated, they are a temporary civil order that stops a respondent from possessing or purchasing firearms when they are a significant danger to themselves or to others. ERPOs are different than an arrest and prosecution or mental health holds or other types of protection orders. An ERPO can be requested on its own or in conjunction with other options. To be clear, an ERPO is not a criminal action. Someone didn't necessarily do something wrong or something illegal for an ERPO to be sought or granted. In most cases, someone, the petitioner, is seeking an ERPO out of great concern and care for the respondent. They are worried. The respondent might be struggling with depression and has made statements about suicide. Those statements may involve getting or using a firearm, and an ERPO might be a good option in this circumstance. Also, a respondent doesn't already have to own or possess a firearm when an ERPO might be a good option. They may be talking seriously about getting one in combination with harming themselves or others. If you know someone and you are concerned about whether they are a danger to themselves or others, what can you do? Certain family or household members can apply on their own to get an ERPO to protect the person in crisis. If you are not able to apply on your own for whatever reason, you can also speak to your local law enforcement and let them know what your concerns are. And they may decide to apply for an ERPO. If you are on campus, you can talk to campus security. Applying for an ERPO is, as court actions go, relatively simple. There are forms and instructions on the Minnesota Judicial Branch's website. The self-help clinic can help petitioners fill out the forms. Once filed, the forms will go to a judge quickly, and the judge will decide whether or not to grant the ERPO request based on what is written in those forms. In general, once submitted to the court will make a decision within a couple of hours. If granted, the court will forward the order to the police, who will serve the order and may take possession of the firearms. A hearing will be held within 14 days to determine whether the ERPO should be granted for up to a year, at which point both parties have an opportunity to explain to the court why the ERPO should or should not be granted. As for my work, I look forward to working closely with our community partners on continuing implementation of the ERPO statute. ERPO is a big but important change, and I am here to work with our partners to figure out it together.
Next, we have Leah Condis from one of our partners, Moms Demand.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. My name is Leah Condis, and I'm proud to be here today representing Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Moms Demand Action is the nation's largest grassroots movement working to end gun violence. We are grateful to be included in the programming today and are proud to have been one advocate for Minnesota's extreme risk law. And we are excited to be able to celebrate the lives saved by this life-saving law. Over the past year, we've seen Minnesota's ERPO policy become a lifeline for families and communities here in Hennepin County. In just 11 months, at least 26 extreme risk protection orders have been filed, each representing a potentially life-saving intervention. That's 26 instances where families, law enforcement, and the courts worked together to prevent a tragedy before it could occur. These orders are not about taking anyone's rights away arbitrarily. They're about protecting lives when someone is in crisis. Whether it's an individual experiencing suicidal thoughts or someone posing a risk to others, ERPOs provide a temporary, thoughtful process to ensure that firearms are removed from volatile situations. The stories we hear are powerful. Parents who feared for their children's safety, friends who noticed a troubling escalation, and community members who stepped in when they saw someone spiraling. They all now have a way to act. These efforts are not just saving lives, they are building safer, more resilient communities. But our work doesn't stop here. It is critical that we continue raising awareness about this law so that more Minnesotans know how to use it. Education and outreach are essential for ensuring that those in need, families, law enforcement, and concerned citizens, are equipped to act. Hennepin County can act as an example to counties throughout the state, demonstrating what coordination and proper implementation look like. Let's take this moment to celebrate the lives already saved and commit ourselves to ensuring that Minnesota's extreme risk law continues to be a cornerstone of safety and hope in Hennepin County and beyond. Together, we can build a future where everyone feels safer and more secure. Thank you.
Questions?
In the volatile situations, the short time frame between thought and action. With these ERPOs, I'm thinking of a scenario where an officer is called to a home with a person in crisis. They find out that there's firearms in that residence. Is this ERPO an action that can be taken on scene? Can the officers start that process of this documentation in these forms to get those weapons?
Yes. I mean, they have to fill out the form. We are willing to help in any way we can and get it before the court so that law enforcement can have that. Sometimes law enforcement doesn't have the authority to enter into a house or an apartment. Using this tool, you can get a warrant that does allow police to enter the home. I do want to say this, though. I wanted to thank Everytown, actually. When we first started thinking about this project, they were very helpful. One of the things they said was most of the time they had found throughout the country that people voluntarily surrendered their guns, which is a good thing because we don't want law enforcement or anyone else to be in jeopardy. But yes, law enforcement can and has in Hennepin County initiated ERPOs.
And is that a fairly quick, I guess I'm looking for the time frame. So they're on scene, person in crisis. I mean, is this something that can happen within an hour or two, or is this I'm trying to get to?
I'll have Raina answer that.
Yeah.
Microphone, please.
Sorry. Technically, yes. It's the matter of filling out the forms. Often law enforcement attach a police report and then submitting it to the court. And once it hits the court, the court in Hennepin County has been doing a fantastic job in turning these around in general in an hour or two and pushing them out. So in general, if you apply today, you're going to get an ERPO today.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you said you want to get the word out. Are you finding that people maybe don't know what this is or are having trouble figuring out how to do this?
Both. The question was about me saying we wanted to get the word out. Do we find that the public isn't aware of it? I think if you asked the public, did you know Minnesota has a red flag law, certainly an ERPO, they probably don't know that. And so that is why one of the reasons we're having this press conference, because it's so important. It's such a good tool, and we want everybody to know that it exists and how to go about getting one. So, that's part of what we mean by getting the word out. And Raina will be doing training with community groups, probably anybody who asks, so that community groups can be getting that word out as well. Any other questions? Thank you.